The coalition of the willing, scheduled to meet on Monday, may bring outcomes that will have serious impact on the ongoing crisis between Ukraine and Russia. As Kyiv seeks to garner deeper support in its ongoing offensive with the coalition, the Kremlin continues to reiterate its stance that Russia is open to talks to end the fiasco. DD India's Shubhra Singh reports.
Ukraine continues its offensive against Russia under influence operation, a 40-day timeline that expires in early August to coerce Russia into ending the conflict. In a meeting with the US President Donald Trump at the NATO summit in Ankara, Ukraine succeeded in reaching an agreement on licensing the production of Patriot missiles. The technical details are yet to be finalized, after which Ukraine will begin the production.
Our meeting with President Trump was also productive. Thank you for the positive decision regarding the license to manufacture Patriot missile. We discussed the details with the President and High Delegation. President Trump repeatedly emphasized that only 2 or 3 countries in the world are currently capable of manufacturing Patriot missiles because the others are not technologically ready. The United States recognizes Ukraine as a country that is ready to do this.
In response, the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov stated that Russia is well aware of United States weapons and military technology supply to Ukraine, adding that United States has a certain duality in its position, supplying weapons while having a desire to facilitate the peace process.
As for the Patriot systems, yes, it is an obvious fact that the United States is continuing to supply weapons and military technology to Ukraine on a large scale. That is indeed the case, we are aware of it. We do not wear rose tinted glasses, and President Putin is fully aware of this as well. At the same time, however, there is a certain duality in the US position. Unlike the Europeans, the United States retains a desire to facilitate a move toward a peace process. They may be misguided or mistaken at times, but that desire strikes us as sincere. We welcome it and we hope that once the Americans manage to resolve the situation regarding Iran, despite the significant complications involved, the efforts regarding Ukraine will resume.
The statement further added that President Vladimir Putin remained open to achieving Russia's objectives through diplomacy, but that Moscow was carving out a wider buffer zone in Ukraine in response to Kyiv's escalatory actions.
Russia remains open to achieving its goals through peaceful political and diplomatic negotiations, and President Putin remains open to it. However, given that this is not possible due to Kiev regime's lack of willingness, we are continuing the special military operation. And as the Kiev side attempts to escalate, we continue to create a wider security zone, a buffer zone. President Putin has spoken about this repeatedly.
Around 35 leaders of the coalition of the willing will meet on Monday. NATO Chief Mark Rutte and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy will join Monday's meeting in Paris to support Ukraine as the coalition expanded with the joining of Moldova and North Macedonia. The meeting will aim to build on the momentum to help Ukraine following this week's NATO summit, with planning underway for security guarantees for when a ceasefire is reached between Ukraine and Russia. The French President Emmanuel Macron, during the NATO meeting, informed that the 13 July meeting will focus on multiple issues, including deeper operational cooperation amongst Kyiv's allies, adding that President Trump has shown a more favorable stance towards Kyiv in its battle against Russia. With EU leaders Ursula von der Leyen and Antonio Costa set to attend the meeting, lots of hopes are pinned as Kyiv looks to garner more support in its offensive against Russia. Shubhra Singh's report for DD India.